Hi guys, this is Ivy Wildman Hall. In today's episode, I want to talk about ways that you can increase your intelligence and brain function, right? So I have quite an extensive list actually that I came up with. And so let's just get to it. Um, First off, sleep. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, right? Make sure that um, I think sleep's just underappreciated, under valued. And another thing that I've noticed that really helps a lot is if you can get a midday nap, even if it's just 20-minute power nap after lunch, this really seems to help the brain function. A lot of learning goes on while you're sleeping. A lot of what you learn during the day doesn't get fully processed and integrated into your brain until you've slept, right? It's a very important. Sleeping is part of the learning process. So never neglect that. Make sleep a priority. Make sure that you're getting your minimum amount of sleep each night to get your maximum potential out of that. Next up, I have supplements. You make sure you're getting all your essential minerals in. I highly recommend taking a multivitamin. I highly recommend looking into different supplements. Looking for healthy options. Fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids. So something that a lot of people don't realize is your brain runs off of fat. That's what the brain does. The brain doesn't use sugar; it uses fat. So when you get those good fats and those omega-3 fatty acids, that's really brain fuel in there. So that's really good. But it's not just fish oil. You can get it from a lot of nuts, a lot of different foods. Um, and a lot of this comes from having a healthy and balanced diet. So you should be getting everything in there. You should be getting your vegetables, fresh meat, getting your carbohydrates in there, getting your rice, whatever it is that's your fuel, right? Um, but if you're just eating healthy food, preferably food that you've been able to cook yourself and you know what ingredients are going into it, or even better, if you've been able to grow your own food in your own vegetable garden, or if you live somewhere where you can raise your own livestock or meat, um, and you know what chemicals went into that animal. You know that there's no antibiotics in them, that there's no growth hormones, whatever it might be. You are what you eat, and you can take up to a certain amount of toxins. Your body is highly adaptable and able to filter out a lot of these toxins. But having said that, just be aware that you are what you eat, that the healthier, cleaner lifestyle you live, but in this case, diet, the more energy you're going to have, the more energy you have, the better you're going to be able to think, the more clearly you're going to be able to think, your mood's going to be better, and just in general, you'll be able to learn better. Um, a big theme in this channel, and I can't stress enough, is exercise. Exercise. This may be the single best thing you could do to improve your overall health, emotional health, physical health, and mental health. So let's talk about it from the mental side of it. Um, in the last video, I believe it was, or video before, I was talking about running, the benefits of running. They've done many scientific studies with mice, and that they've shown that long distance cardiovascular activity that's low in stress um, leads to neurogenesis. It leads to growth in brain cells, the new neural pathways, new neurons. Um, so yeah, if you kind of feel like maybe you're in a haze, you're in a fog, maybe it's you work a job where you're working graveyard shift and your sleep's all screwed up and you feel like your memory's slipping, or maybe you're someone who's done a lot of drinking over the years or whatever, and it's affected your mental acuity. um Start running. Even as an adult, it's one of the few ways over the age of 25 that you can stimulate new brain development, new brain growth. um So yeah, long distance, low stress cardiovascular activity, and I think in terms of just pure brain growth, I think running's the best. Um, but swimming is really great also. Long distance cycling is really great. Hiking is really great. Um, Running is a little bit harder on the body. It can be tough on the joints. There's a lot of impact as you're running. But if your knees and your legs can take it, in terms of just cardiovascular intake, uh, you're breathing a lot more. You're getting that oxygen high, and I believe that's what the running high is a combination of high levels of dopamine, or just high levels of endorphin to deal with prolonged discomfort, combined with high amounts of oxygen, because you're just breathing in, you're breathing in, and swimming is, like I mentioned just now, it's really, 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 really great. Also, swimming is really great for your breathing in a different way. It's forcing you to control the breathing. As you're swimming, you're stretching. It's just, let's focus on the breath. And there's something very meditative about it, right? It's something very soothing. But my personal experience with swimming is once you get past a certain point and you're doing long distance swimming, um, you become lightheaded. You start at low blood sugar, low oxygen. Your body's struggling to get that oxygen in. Whereas if you're running, you have free access to breathing. Right? Think about it. If you're in the water, your head's down in the water. If you're swimming freestyle, breaststroke, that you're limited in how much air you can take in a way that you're not limited with running. So yeah, my two favorites are running and swimming, but I just say any of the triathlon sports, any long distance hiking, once again, anything that's low stress. And by low stress, we mean something like, for instance, if you're lifting heavy weights or you're doing sprints, these are high stress activities on the body. Like they're kind of shocks, right? Where we're talking about just a slow, steady pace over an hour, long distance, something like this. This would be low stress, low stress, long distance cardiovascular activity. And this is what's going to stimulate the brain growth. Next up, let's talk about memory. The single best way I found to increase your memory is, it's going to sound stupid, but just bear with me because it's the goddamn truth. Memorize. You practice memorizing things. Practice memorizing poems, passages, Bible verses, telephone numbers, anything that might be a little bit challenging, but you can test yourself, just memorize it. Memorize a couple lines of anything a day, right? What I want to drive home is memory is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. It's not something that just disappears because you get old. It disappears as you get older because you're not using it. I'm saying this from personal experience. Once I made it a point to start memorizing stuff, because at a certain point in my life, I felt that my memory was not good enough. It was like just something turned on in my brain, and I started to have this incredibly good memory where I just could recall anything that was in my knowledge bank, whether it's the name of a person, a place, a book, whatever it was. Any knowledge that was there, I was able to access it. Because here's the thing about memory: it's all there in your head. If you can't remember it, you're having a problem accessing it. The problem is that the memory didn't disappear; it's still there in your brain. Where you're having trouble is accessing that memory. So when you practice memorizing things each day, you're strengthening that muscle. You're getting your brain used to more actively practicing searching through your own mind for the information that it's searching for. So memory is a muscle. Let's on to the next point. Read. You have to read. If you want to get smarter, you must read. First off, I think of books as a conversation with a really interesting person. Every author that I choose to pick up their book and read is a conversation with a really interesting person. And I don't care what you read, it's going to be good for you. They say that the medium is the message, right? If you're reading something that's a text message, that's going to be very different than reading an email, right? It's different context, different time constraints, different expectations. So let's talk about book. What is the medium of a book? The medium of a book is a linear. It starts at this point, it goes one direction, and it ends at this other point, right? You are reading it and ingesting it at your own pace. It's not like a movie where you're watching a movie and then you're getting overstimulated. You're going to be fed a ton of information. And at certain points in the movie, when you stop to think, the movie just keeps on going, keeps on giving you more information. This doesn't happen with a book. When you're reading the book, you stop, you pause, you process the information at the rate that you want to. Now, let's talk about books. What are books? It's basically, I think of a book as a map, right? It's a map to take you on a journey. You actually have to do the journey yourself, right? If you're reading a book, they're just giving you words. You have to create the images, the ideas, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations in your own mind. You're creating those. All the words are doing is giving you the suggestion. This is what you should be thinking about right now. This is the information that's being fed you, and that's up to you to process it and to turn it into something more. And it's also up to you to kind of incorporate it into your own knowledge bank. For instance, if you read in a story about some monster, some animal, whatever, that's based on your own past experience. Maybe you're comparing it to an elephant, right? And you've seen that elephant before. So now this creature that they're describing, you're envisioning it as looking like an elephant, right? But you're basically integrating it with the knowledge that you have already. And I once heard someone say that their definition of creativity is taking two ideas or two pre-existing pieces of information and combining them in a new way. So I would argue in this case, reading fosters and helps with creativity, right? Also, I would highly recommend, if you are going to read everything, read for enjoyment, read fiction. If you like, I like fantasy and science fiction, I highly recommend you read those. However, having said that, I find what increases my intelligence the most is reading nonfiction. It can be about any topic, about anything. It could be about politics, history, science, just you name it, adventure. And also, if you want inspiration for your life, read biographies. Read how other great men and women have lived their lives, and learn from them. I think one of the most inspiring things you could do is read biographies of other people and learn from their life, learn life lessons from studying their lives. So highly recommend read lots of biographies of people that inspire you or that you admire. And that'll be very good for you. But yeah, read, try to read nonfiction. But if you can't do that, just read whatever you can, because it's great for your mind. All right, next one. Learning new languages. Now, this is something else that I found really increases your memory. You're learning to think in a new language. So it's basically you're learning to think in a new way, right? When you have to think in a new language, I think it's very stimulating. I think it's really great for you. And not only that, but if you do get good at learning a language, it's a useful skill. You can connect to more people from other cultures and parts of the world. I mean, if you get really good with the language, that could be something that helps you get a job. I know many people who English is their second language, but they speak it fluently, and it helps them a lot in their work. Same thing for languages such as Chinese or other major languages, Spanish, Russian, what have you. The next one is a personal favorite of mine. Something that really took my thinking and IQ to the next level was learning how to computer program. I think computer programming is just such an amazing skill and activity. And um, let's talk about what you're doing. To me, computer programming is the intersection of logic and creativity. You're building something when you write a program. You're building something. You're building a solution to a problem. So you're an architect. You're a problem solver. That the logical part of your brain. You're using mathematics. You're using logic. Everything must work. And then, but you're making something. So it's just very creative too. It's just one of the few activities I've done in my life that incorporates equally both hemispheres of the brain. And I just, there's so much to be gained from it, so much to be learned. It changes the way you think. It makes you more logical. It makes you more determined. Increases your perseverance, your ability to, to face failure. You program a program 20 different ways that don't work, 30 times, 40 times, 50 times. And then you keep at it and eventually you get it to work. It's the most incredible feeling in the world. It's absolutely exhilarating. So computer programming. Let's see. Next point. Make friends with intelligent people. Make friends with people who you admire. Make friends with people who you want to get up to their level. You're not trying to you're not above them, right? You're not trying to, and you can return the favor. You can be friends with people who are trying to get up too, but the point is you are the summation of the 5 closest people to you. If you surround yourself with successful people, with intelligent people, you're gonna by osmosis be exposed to more positive outlooks on life, information. This might be investment information. This might be just how to live life. This might be family advice. But the more you can surround yourself with intelligent people, that's gonna help you become more intelligent, right? So yeah, definitely be conscious of who is surrounding you, and form your own Justice League, right? And okay, next point. Cut out all drugs and alcohol. I can't tell you personally, I've noticed that even a little bit of alcohol or any of the above things, they interfere with your brain's ability to think quickly and clearly. So let's take the example of alcohol. What is alcohol doing? Alcohol is reducing the amount of oxygen in the bloodstream, right? So it's basically you're strangling, you're asphyxiating your brain through a chemical process, right? You're killing brain cells through doing this, right? And at first it feels nice and relaxing, right? Because the first part of your brain that turns off is, that part, I guess, that makes you more anxious or more critical or whatever. But as we've all seen or experienced, too much alcohol leads to loss of motor function, loss of inhibition, like loss of good inhibition. Yeah. And but it can affect your hormone levels. It can affect your dopamine levels, serotonin levels, all this stuff. So it might not be what a lot of people want to hear, but I would say, honestly, if you're serious about increasing your intelligence and your IQ and your brain function, you need to cut out all the alcohol, all of it. Is having a beer or two a night fine? It is, but is it going to help you? No. No beer versus 1 or 2 a night. You're going to find that your brain function is faster with those no beers than with those 1 or 2. Even those 1 or 2 are going to have a small effect that's going to be detrimental to quicker thinking and increased brain function. That's what I've observed is most drugs interfere with brain function. And so and to quote Mr. Mackey, drugs are bad, okay? So anyway, next point. Traveling to a new country, a foreign country that you're unfamiliar with, is also incredibly stimulating. Just great for your brain. Right now, I just moved to a new country, a country of Uzbekistan. This is a Central Asian country, formerly part of the USSR, the Soviet Union. Incredibly interesting country. My interpretation so far, being a newcomer here, is that it is a Middle Eastern country, but it also has this very Russian feel to it. Very, very much, Soviet, former communist countries. Just the architecture, the attitudes, the people. And then, by the way, the people are absolutely lovely. Just very welcoming. Very much what I've come to expect from Middle Easterners. They're just very, very accommodating and welcoming. And so, my point though is here because it's a former communist country, and the main languages are Uzbek and Russian, right? So most of the signs are written in the Cyrillic alphabet, right? Which is not our typical Roman alphabet. I am in the process of learning what those letters mean, but it might as well be Chinese to me right now. And so stuff like when I go in the supermarket, I'm going down the aisle looking at stationery, I have to use a different part of my brain. I'm challenged because I cannot read the letters on the boxes. So I'm looking at a box and I'm like, what is this? It looks like colored pencils. Okay, colored pencils. What is this? This looks like an eraser. Okay, what is this? This looks like a notebook, right? But I'm forced to use different parts of my brain to kind of figure out what am I looking at, because I can't rely on language right now. It's not familiar. I'm out of my comfort zone, right? And you start to develop this hyper awareness when you move to a very foreign country, because everything is so new that you're literally looking at everything for hints, for clues. You're just trying to process everything in your environment, right? You're not taking anything for granted. You're not just going off of muscle memory. You're literally just looking at everything with a very incredible amount of focus, right? Just trying to interpret everything in the environment. So, I think travel is just incredibly stimulating, great for the brain. It's going to be very challenging, and challenges of any sort are good for personal development, for increasing your intelligence, your confidence, all this stuff. We should all be challenging ourselves on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be all the time, but on a regular basis, we should put ourselves in situations where we're a little bit outside of our comfort zone, but we're able to achieve whatever it is that we need to. And this builds upon our confidence, right? So I'm going to finish this video soon, but I just want to end with this point, which is learning. Learn as much as you can. Learning leads to brain stimulation. And I have written down here in my notes, money leads to more money. Dating leads to more dating. Power leads to more power. Knowledge attracts knowledge. So whatever it is you're focusing your efforts on, your thoughts, whatever it is that you're thinking about, this is what you're going to attract into your life. And if knowledge and intelligence, these are the things that you want, that you're going to attract into your life. The more knowledge you gain, the more you're going to attract this knowledge, the more you're going to encounter this interesting knowledge. And so just think about what you're attracting into your life, because I could have used a bunch of negative examples right there, but that would have been attracting stuff that I don't want into my life, right? I want to make money and attract more money. I want to attract love, have love, and attract more love. And I value knowledge more than gold, right? If you have enough knowledge, you will have gold of one form or another. So just put yourself in the environments where you can maximize your potential, right? And I think it all starts intellectually, right? If you're in the right mind frame, then you can progress financially, romantically, interpersonally, physically, sports, whatever, health, just general health. So, yeah, just think about what are you focusing on during the day. And you might be surprised, you might know that you want one thing, but you're actually attracting someone else because you're spending so much time fixated on something that you don't want to attract into your life. And I'm not saying to ignore problems. I'm not saying to, um, be naive. I'm just saying whenever there's an opportunity where you could complain about something or not complain, maybe take that opportunity to just be like, I'm not going to complain right now, even though I could. Or, if you're in that a situation where there's one thing going on and there's something bad going on at the same exact time, maybe take a moment to turn to your friend or coworker and point out that good thing, right? And if you pointed out that bad thing, you wouldn't be wrong. That's something that's going on, that's correct. But once again, what are you attracting to your life? And I'm certainly not judging anyone. I'm guilty of this plenty of times, so I'm sharing of what I've learned as I go through life and my mistakes that I made, so that maybe perhaps helps you guys also. I once heard the quote, uh, there's two ways to learn. This is how we're going to finish this video. There's two ways to learn. You can learn from your mistakes or you can learn from someone else's mistakes. So be smart, learn from other people's mistakes, get as smart as you can, do as much as you can with the time you got. Guys, I'm Zavi Wildman Hall. It's been great talking to you. Until next week, take care.